Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Monterey County Sheriff, Tina Nieto, we thank you all for being here as we announce an arrest being made this morning by the Monterey County Sheriff's Office detectives in collaboration with the Monterey County District Attorney's Cold Case Task Force. This arrest is related to the discovery of an infant who was found along a rural road nearly 30 years ago. Our infant victim is going to be referred to as Baby Garen. On December 3rd, 1994, the Monterey County Sheriff's Office was called out to the area of Garen Road near Lewis Road. This area is located south of the community of Pajaro in the community of Las Lomas. On that day, a person who was looking for recyclables along Garen Road located a paper bag. He opened up that paper bag and discovered something that nobody ever wants to find. When the person looked inside, they discovered a deceased baby boy's body. This deceased baby boy was wearing a white disposable diaper with yellow swans and blue and tan horses, a turquoise sleeper suit, a blue jumper, a white t-shirt, white socks, and a stocking-style cap. And he was wrapped inside a blanket with pink and blue stripes. An autopsy was performed on baby Garen, and although a cause of death was not determined, the pathologist involved in this examination was able to opine that baby Garen was several days old and based on observations was viable and not stillborn. Monterey County Sheriff's investigators contacted numerous neighbors in the Pajaro and Las Lomas area as part of their investigation, but none had seen any suspicious activity. Investigators also followed up on several leads that were provided, but none resulted in the identification of our infant victim, baby Garen, or that of his mother. This investigation remained as an unidentified human remains case with Monterey County Sheriff's Office. In early 2023, the Monterey County District Attorney's Cold Case Homicide Team joined forces with Monterey County Sheriff's Office and our detectives. Based on the technological advances in the identification of DNA, forensic evidence collected in this investigation was sent to the California Department of Justice Forensic Laboratory. That forensic evidence was then forwarded on to a Texas-based private forensic lab known as OathRem, who was able to produce a DNA strand or DNA profile suitable for forensic genetic genealogy. That DNA profile was then forwarded off to a genealogy company called Solve by DNA. That company is based out of Colorado. Solve by DNA was able to provide investigative leads on who the family of this baby Garen, of our baby Garen, could be. Monterey County District Attorney's Office Cold Case Task Force detectives were then able to conduct follow-up interviews and obtain DNA samples, which ultimately led to the identification of baby Garen's mother. Today, at about 7:16 in the morning, Monterey County Sheriff's Office detectives, in collaboration with the Monterey County District Attorney's Cold Case Task Force, served an arrest warrant in the area of Loma Vista Parkway and LaSalle Street in Watsonville. Taken into custody was 60-year-old Pamela Ferreira. She was taken into custody without incident. She was transported to the Monterey County Jail, where she's been booked on one count of 187 APC murder. Monterey County Sheriff Tina Nieto has been made aware of today's arrest. She's unable to join us as she is in a meeting with other California county sheriffs in our state to discuss shared interests related to public safety and border security. Sheriff Tina Nieto stated, quote, "This is a sad situation all around. We named the baby Garen, not only for the area where he was found, but also because we stand as guardians for our community. The name Garen means protection. Every child deserves protection and people to advocate and seek justice for them," end quote. At this time, I'd like to introduce Matt LaRoe, Assistant District Attorney with the Monterey County District Attorney's Office, who will speak about the Monterey County District Attorney's Office Cold Case Task Force.
Thank you so much. In July of 2020, District Attorney Janine Paccioni first created the Monterey County District Attorney's Office Cold Case Task Force. Our goal was to partner with all the law enforcement agencies in Monterey County who had unsolved cold cases to see if we could collaborate, to work together, to use DNA technology and our combined efforts to work together and get those cases solved. We've partnered with Monterey County Sheriff's Office as well as every agency who has open unsolved cases. And we're proud to say that up to this point, 4 years into our endeavor, we have solved 9 homicides that have resulted in us being able to file homicide charges against 9 suspects. 4 of those individuals have been convicted. 5 are currently awaiting trial. We have filed charges against 1 person for a cold case sexual assault who is currently awaiting trial. We have identified 8 previously unidentified John and Jane Does through DNA technology. And we have solved and closed 4 additional homicides where charges were not able to be brought due to either the death or incompetency of the person who was suspected of having committed the crime. We are grateful for the partnership that we have had with Monterey County Sheriff's Office, and we hope to continue to work together with all the agencies in the county and with the cooperation of all the members of our community to show that these cases still matter, that we care about all victims, regardless of whenever these crimes took place. And we ask if anyone has information about an unsolved case, please come forward. We care, and we're not going to stop working on it until these cases are solved. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Law enforcement officers are exposed to many tragic experiences throughout their careers. If you ask any law enforcement professional, they will tell you that the hardest case to investigate is any involving crimes against children. These are emotional cases that one does not easily, if ever, forget. When baby Garen was found, numerous Monterey County Sheriff deputies and detectives began an investigation that they have carried with them to this day. Most of these individuals have since retired, but undoubtedly, they think about baby Garen each day. We extend our gratitude to the men and women who have dedicated time and investigative efforts over a nearly 30-year period to help find the person responsible for baby Garen's tragic death. On behalf of Monterey County Sheriff Tina Nieto, the Monterey County District Attorney's Cold Case Homicide Task Force, and all of the investigative partners that have helped in this investigation, we thank you for joining us. If you have questions, we'll do our best to try to answer those now.
Do we know the cause of death, and was the baby deceased, do you believe, at the time he was dumped?
So unfortunately, the autopsy did not reveal a cause of death. The question as to whether the child was alive when it was on the road is also something that we can't answer at this time.
When it comes to solving a cold case such as this, how much time is devoted to making sure you reach the conclusion or the resolve?
Well, as Assistant DA Matt mentioned earlier, once these investigations start, we don't stop. We will continue until we get closure in the case. We find the people responsible. One thing that we have to keep in mind when you talk about time devoted is that a lot of the time that is devoted is time that is spent waiting. It's not like Hollywood where you can provide a DNA sample to a lab and get results within a few minutes or a few hours. As we mentioned earlier, this journey, this DNA journey that we talked about began 1.5 years ago. And it's taken 1.5 years to get us to the point that we're at today.
With regard to that DNA sample, how was that obtained? Was that like a 23andMe, and that's how you guys were able to get the hit, or was there something else that led you to look at this individual? So
we talked about the samples that were provided to DOJ, to Altram, and to the third company that was involved. Those companies have their databases that they're able to access. I wouldn't be able to tell you any specifics about which databases were used.
Well, along the lines of that, so they have the DNA, and they probably have a base of potential matches. At that point, is it, okay, so we have this DNA, it might be this individual, so then you go to that individual, and okay, well, were you pregnant 30 years ago? Well, maybe it wasn't me, but maybe it was my family member. Is this like a process of elimination?
So you can almost refer to it that way. There's a couple of ways to look at this. So first of all, when the case was first investigated and our investigators did go out into the Pajaro and Los Lomas area, they were provided information by people in those areas of individuals that were pregnant and expecting a child at the time. Those individuals were contacted and they were all found to have their children. So nobody was missing a child, or there was no incident that would lead them to believe that this child belonged to them. In reference to the list that you're referring to, as I mentioned earlier, when we were provided the information, which would have come from one of the DNA laboratories, when we were provided that information, they provided a list of potential persons who could be related to this individual. And yes, for lack of a better way of saying it, it is a process of elimination. It takes hours and hours and hours of work by the investigators to talk to people and try to determine who in fact is the person that we're looking for that was responsible for this.
I don't know if you know this answer, but I mean, after 30 years, when your deputies roll up this morning and arrest her, there must have been some element of surprise on her behalf, shock that the law finally caught up with her.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what was going through Ms. Ferrera's mind at the time that she was contacted. Our investigative partners were able to walk up to her and take her into custody without incident.
I've got a question for Matt. And Matt, the fact that they can't determine the cause of death, how much more difficult does this make your case?
So there's always more than one way to prove a homicide case. Obviously, if you have a clear cause of death from an autopsy, that is one very helpful way, but there are other circumstantial ways that you can prove that something was a homicide. And you have to take the totality of the evidence that you have in deciding whether you have sufficient evidence to move forward. And based upon what has been presented to us, we made the determination that we have sufficient evidence to proceed as we have.
To piggyback on his question, was there anybody else that was aware of this baby? Was she the only one? Was somebody aware of this, the baby being born and being dumped?
I don't have a specific answer to that question at this point. We have only one suspect and only one person in custody.
But I think what we're hearing is that the belief is that this, what you said it, Rose, is the belief that the baby wasn't stillborn. It was. I mean, well, with that said, do we know if this baby was delivered in a hospital or a bathroom, a bedroom?
So we don't have that information. We don't know where the baby was born, and we don't have information in reference to when you refer to stillborn and live birth. We were able to confirm to the public that the pathologist that did the autopsy, through his investigation, was able to form the opinion that this baby was alive, had been alive. That would actually give you the further opinion that it was not stillborn.
To Tom's point, I mean, I've heard the stories where some women have babies, you know, because of their stature, they don't know that they're pregnant. Is this a case where maybe people didn't know she was pregnant? So therefore, it wasn't a case like, oh, what happened to your child? You just pregnant. Like, and then obviously it sounds like nobody reported that.
So anything is possible. And what you're saying is quite possible. Whether or not that was what happened here, we can't answer that. What I can tell you is that during the course of the investigation, we have gathered sufficient facts. As was mentioned earlier, the information has been presented to the Monterey County District Attorney, and the filing has been made. We're moving forward with the charges against Ms. Ferreira. At this point, there will be additional details that will come out during the court proceedings, and some of those questions may be answered at that time.
I got one final question for Matt. I mean, Matt, this genealogy company, I mean, it seems like they're like in the crime fighting business. This is like a whole new, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but this is just seems like a whole new door that you're able to go through, just another tool in this toolbox where that's gonna help you guys solve crimes.
We've been very lucky with the increases in technology over recent years. There are lots of new tools that are available to us. We're committed to making sure that we're using them responsibly and that we are achieving fair and just results through the uses of those technologies.
And then a procedural thing, we thought she might be in court today. What's the status on that?
So she is in custody. The charges have been filed, so more than likely, barring some other issue, she's going to be arraigned tomorrow.
Does she have other children?
My understanding is she does.
Living? I mean,
Yes.
this is the woman, I'm not referencing the kids, but though I did see, it looks like one son passed away last year. But this woman is just living her life for the last 30 years, just, I guess in her mind thinking she's never gonna get caught, but I can't imagine how she would not think that when her baby had been discovered. That's a terrible thing to be living with for 30 years.
I have to imagine it is.
I guess that's what I'm looking, I guess I was just looking for your thoughts, your reaction on that.
Well, the longer you do this, the more times you come into contact with someone who did something terrible a very long time ago. And we run into a variety of different reactions. Some of them seem to think that they have gotten away with it and are very surprised. Some of them have been waiting for that knock on the door for decades. I couldn't tell you which situation this falls under, but we're happy that this day has come and that we're able to do something about this situation that happened 30 years ago.
Has she been cooperative with the investigation up to this point, like, and post arrest?
I would have to defer that question to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that. I wasn't present during the time that she was taken into custody. The only thing I've been made aware is that she was taken into custody without any incident.
I don't have anything else unless anybody else has anything else to add.
Okay. Thank you again for joining us. And if you have any other requests, we'll be happy to meet with you shortly. Thank you.